Okay, first take the pump out of the filter press, and we're going to need a few tools like Allen wrenches, screwdrivers, and a pick, the grease that we recommend to use, an air pistol to help clear out debris. And the pump we're going to be replacing and cleaning out, actually just cleaning out, not replacing, the shuttle valve. It can be re-greased and cleaned out most of the time. First we'll remove the manifold that holds the shuttle. Once removed, we can remove the two screws that hold the manifold to the shuttle. Once the screws are out, I can take the shuttle valve off of the back of the pump. This one is labeled back. If you can't read it, we want to mark this which side is the back of the pump. So I might want to scratch it to show that that goes toward the pump side. And I'm also going to identify which sides of the spool are which. One side I like to do 3 lines and the other side just 2 lines. Therefore I know which side is which. Now that I've marked the shuttle, I can take the 2 end caps off and be able to replace them where they belong. Once the screws come off, one side of the shuttle has an O-ring. See that the O-ring doesn't need to be replaced. And that side of the O-ring goes next to an end cap that actually has a magnet on the end of it. Notice all of the debris, how black it is. Most likely this black material plugs this end cap, which is a check valve for the air to exhaust out. It goes around the outside of that and it exits out that hole. So to take the magnet out, you need to use air pressure and blow it in the hole. By doing that, I can remove the part. Then this part can be cleaned out carefully by hand, and this part as well, so that all of the junk is removed. Otherwise it can't exhaust air and it will stop the shuttle from moving. So these check valves need to be cleaned out. Okay. The opposite side has a plastic end cap. Again, I remove it with air in the hole here. That will help dislodge it. These parts, these rubber O-rings, can't be put in solvent. It'll dissolve some of the rubber. But the rest of the parts, if I remove the spool, I can clean these parts out with some solvent and help clear it out. Okay. Some brake cleaner can clean out the metal parts. Use some air to get all the remaining brake cleaner off of these. I clean these out by air and then wipe them dry with some clean paper towels. Clean everything up nice. And then these parts here, you have to do these by hand with a paper towel just to get all of the debris out of the O-ring. The paper towel without solvent is the spool valve. If that O-ring is not chipped up or worn away, it doesn't need to be replaced. It's just a bumper on the side that has the magnet. The sealing O-rings are actually discs, so they can't be removed. You have to replace them if those are wore off or worn out completely. Most of the time this can be just cleaned out, re-lubricated, and reassembled. We use Magnalube G as the lubricant to reassemble everything now that the parts are all clean. Put a little bit of lubricant on the spool, rub it around, and put it back together in the spool. If I don't remember which end was which, I have those marks that I made on the cylinder. So there's the 3 marks. That end had the magnet, so that end has the spool that had the O-ring as the bumper. If you need to add a little bit of grease after you've put it in, you can do that to work it back and forth so it's plenty greased up. There we go. Re-grease these pieces and put them back together the way they go. These are the end cap check valves. If these don't get cleaned out, those parts may not exhaust air properly. Then the end cap that has the plastic part goes on the end without the O-ring. Again, you can see that my marks aligned, 2 marks. And the other end with the O-ring, the metal part. And again, you can see my marks aligned. And then this side goes toward the back of the pump. So now I'll put the screws back in. Once you get the 2 end caps back on, tighten the screws. And that's the shuttle completely cleaned and relubricated. It goes back on the pump with the gasket in between the manifold. It matches up to the holes here. The 2 screws come back together here and here to attach this first to the manifold and then the manifold to that. Screws don't need to be over torqued because it will just squish the rubber gasket overly much and it might extrude beyond the part. So it just needs to be snugged up with the Allen wrench. Make sure all 4 O-rings are still in place. You can clean off the surface of the pump. You can notice I did that. And there's only one way that this will go on correctly, where the 2 screws will realign here and here. So that will go back on the pump properly. Again, the O-rings compress. They don't need to be overly tight and snug it with what you can and with the wrench, and that's fine. Wrong one. Here we go. One twist with the wrench on either one of the amount is all that is. Alright, and that's finished. I noticed when I installed this that I put the pump side, that should have been toward the pump, not up. So now I'm going to reverse the screws here, flip this around on the manifold so this side goes toward the pump. Now the pump backside is toward the pump. So I can put these 2 screws back in and it's done.